The start of summer break means fresh food, family time, and making the most of these sunny days.
I want this piece. I want this piece.
My kids are gonna want food and lots of it. In this video, I'm cooking up lots of delicious meals for my family of 6, including healthy breakfast cookies and my new favorite way to make chicken. I'm playing with fresh summer flavors, spending more time outdoors with my kids, and tackling a few home projects too. It's time to do some maintenance on this. It's not all work and no play though. We moms need to remember to have fun too. So come hang out in the kitchen with me as we kick off summer together. Grab a cup of coffee and gather some creative meal ideas, and let's start the season on a joyful note. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm making my favorite enchiladas tonight, but I found a new way to cook the chicken that I haven't tried before. And I think it's gonna work out perfect for this recipe. This was one of those really busy days. It was the last day of school. There were award ceremonies and different things going on. So we had 4 different pickup times for the kids. So I was glad to learn this new way to cook chicken in my Dutch oven. I'm basically seasoning up the chicken with some Mexican seasonings. I'm winging it here. You can do whatever you like. And then I'm adding in a ½ cup of butter, which sounds like a lot, but it's what keeps the chicken moist as it cooks low and slow. Yeah. So I'm gonna cook this at 275 for 4 hours. Now what? All right, I got 3 of my children home and I am just barely making it through this day. I was like falling asleep on the couch every time I sat down, but we're gonna get through this day and dinner's gonna be delicious. So, the chicken is done, I think. I'm gonna check on it. Wow. I couldn't believe how the chicken just melted as soon as my fork touched it. So this is definitely a way I'm going to make chicken a lot in the future. For this enchilada recipe, I'm making the meat mixture first. I've got my veggies sauteing in the pan, and now I'm adding in some canned tomatoes and green chilies. It's best if you drain those before you add them. And now I'm shredding some cheese. I only had cheddar, but I think a mix of Mexican cheeses would taste better. I'm adding about a cup of cheese to this meat mixture and just getting it melted. You can also add a little bit of cream cheese here if you like more creamy, cheesy enchilada. And now I'm making the enchilada sauce. For this enchilada sauce, you're gonna make a spice blend. And this is basically gonna be all the flavor for your sauce. And into a small saucepan, you're gonna add 2 tablespoons of avocado oil and go ahead and get that nice and hot. Then you can add in 2 tablespoons of flour and just whisk that up, and we're gonna make a roux here. And then add in your spices, heat those up a little bit to kind of bring out the flavor. And then you're gonna add in 2 cups of chicken broth. I have some homemade bone broth that I made and I just grabbed from the freezer and I let that thaw. But you're gonna let this thicken, and then once you do all of the broth in there, you're going to let it simmer and thicken up for about 30 minutes, and later it will reduce down and look more like this. But as it cools, it will thicken up even more. So here's the meat mixture, and then now I'm going to assemble my enchiladas. I normally add a bit of Mexican cheese on the tortilla first, and then I add the meat, but I just forgot about it. I am pretty picky about enchiladas. I don't like it to be wet or soggy, and so I think a combination of just the chicken with some cheese, and you can also add in some pinto beans or black beans. I think that works really well, and then I just top it with a little bit of that homemade enchilada sauce, and it does sort of dry out as it's baking, which I like. And then this sauce has a lot of chili powder, but I really don't think it's spicy, and I think it pairs really well with sour cream. And so it's a simple enchilada, probably not authentic. I'm adding cheddar cheese on top, but I think a Mexican cheese blend would work better. And then for the kids, I did one without the enchilada sauce, just in case they were gonna be picky about it. And I'm baking this at 350 for about 30 minutes or so until it looks done. Now I'm making a fresh salad. I'm starting off with some green dressing from this cookbook from the Sprouted Kitchen. I have 2 of her cookbooks, and I really enjoy how she uses fresh food, fresh vegetables and herbs, and creates lots of different flavors. So I find myself going back to this cookbook a lot. Into the food processor, I'm doing 2 cloves of garlic, some green onions, about a cup of fresh cilantro, about 2 cups of packed basil leaves, and 3/4 cup of parsley, a half teaspoon of salt, pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Now I'm adding the zest and juice of a whole lemon, and a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and a tablespoon of honey. Now I'm adding in a cup of Greek yogurt, which makes this a high protein dressing, and also a 1/4 cup of olive oil and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Blend that up until it turns into a beautiful green dressing. I love working with fresh herbs. It makes everything so colorful and flavorful. It's even more satisfying when I can pick the herbs from my own garden. So if you're gonna grow anything, I would say you get the most bang for your buck if you grow fresh herbs. And a lot of them are perennials, so they come back every year. I'm also storing the rest of the enchilada sauce. I'm going to use that on a later date. And now I'm just throwing together a quick salad. Well, we made it through the school year, and I made it through all the end of school activities that come along with it, and this night was a bit of a celebration for that. This is one of the recipes that I had typed out and printed in our family binder, so I don't know exactly where it came from. I know that it came from online somewhere, and then I modified it to the way that I like it. But this is just such a great recipe when you want something comforting, and I hope you like it. Now my plan for dinner today is I'm going to use up the rest of the chicken and use up the rest of this dressing. So I'm gonna marinate some of this chicken and then throw it on the smoker later. It is a beautiful Saturday. I just finished my run, and while I'm still in my workout clothes and sweaty and dirty, I'm going to clean my Treager here because I'm planning on cooking some chicken tonight in my smoker, but it really needs to be cleaned. And now that summer break is here, I think we're gonna be using this smoker a lot. So it's time to do some maintenance on this. And we're gonna scrub it over there. Thank you. Perfect. If you have a Treager or a smoker, you know that all of this dust and ash, it needs to get vacuumed up every once in a while. The other one, you just gotta angle it. Just gotta angle it a little. Yeah, put it right here. I love days like this when I can be outside a lot, staying active and working on a project and having my kids right alongside me. My 5-year-old is my shadow right now, and I am loving it.
Mom, are you trying to get your gloves as dirty as you can?
No, but they're gonna get really dirty.
Almighty! There we go.
There you Go. I am pretty much done. Now I'm filling the smoker up with wood chips. Completely overfilled it. My son is waiting on me. I promised him I would jump on the trampoline with him, and I meant it. All right, I think that's all I can handle today. Now I'm making some healthy ice cream that I'm gonna eat later tonight. So I'm mashing up 1.5 bananas in the bottom of this Ninja creamy container and adding in a scoop of protein powder, a tablespoon of cocoa powder, about a cup, maybe less, of coconut milk, and then I'm adding in a date, as well as a little bit of vanilla extract and a tiny bit of maple syrup. I'm mixing that up pretty good, and then that's gonna go into the freezer. It needs about 6 to 8 hours to freeze, and then it will be a delicious ice cream. I have a photo shoot later, and so I know I'm going to want that when I get home. For dinner, I'm just doing some simple roasted veggies and a salad, and I'm gonna put that chicken on the smoker. So it should just be a very fresh and simple dinner, but with lots of flavor. For the carrots, I'm roasting them with a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. And I'll roast it at 400 for about 25 minutes until it looks like it's done. While I'm waiting for the oven to preheat, I'm gonna chop up some potatoes. This is kind of like my lazy roasted potato method. I just chop it up like this. I didn't even line the pan. I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, maybe that's 3 tablespoons, a teaspoon of salt, and that's it. Mix it up really well and just bake that at about 400 or 425 for maybe 30 to 45 minutes until it's nice and crispy. I have it on the lower rack now, but I'm gonna move it to the upper rack when the carrots are done. Got lots of fresh produce for tonight. I like salads with a lot of stuff in them, so I'm doing an avocado, a cucumber, 1/2 of a zucchini, and I'm salting the lettuce first and then adding in a squeeze of lemon juice. So this kind of pre-seasons the lettuce. I think it makes a big difference. I'm adding in a little bit of pumpkin seed and sesame seed for some crunch and nutrition. And now using up the rest of that green dressing. This salad ended up being so delicious. I could eat the whole thing with a spoon. It was so yummy. But I'm putting this to the side for now while I'm waiting for everything else to finish. The carrots are done, and now I'm just flipping the potatoes, and then I'm gonna put them back in the oven for a little bit longer. To finish off the carrots, I'm gonna add a little splash of lemon juice, some fresh parsley, and a sprinkle more of salt. And I promise you, this is a simple and very delicious carrot recipe. For some reason, cumin really takes carrots up to the next level for me. Well, I burnt the potatoes a little bit, but that's okay. We will all still eat these. Still delicious. A little crispy.
This is one of those meals where you don't need a recipe. You just want to create a yummy dressing and roast some veggies and grill some meat, and you have a delicious dinner. I ended up having to eat my dinner before everyone else. The kids and my husband, they went to a movie, and it was kind of a fun summer activity, and I had to leave for a photo shoot. So when I got home later, I was able to have my dessert.
Just got back from my photo shoot, and now this mixture that I made earlier today is frozen, so I'm going to put it in the Ninja Creamy, and then I'll show you how it turns out. Can't remember how this works.
Oh.
There we go.
Haha, magic.
Alright, now let's put it in here. Think this. I think it's done. Oh, looks really...
Just enjoying my ice cream.
Stop.
So good.
Here it is. It's super creamy. It probably would be more like ice cream if I let it freeze longer, but I only let it freeze for like 6 hours. So if it's totally frozen hard, it's more like ice cream, but this is my healthy treat tonight. I'm gonna go enjoy it. Now that summer break has officially begun, my kids are gonna want food and lots of it. And so I'm just gonna make some snacks this morning. First one I'm gonna make is a coconut loaf. I love this recipe, I've made it so many times. And then I'm also gonna make some breakfast cookies. I just discovered this recipe and it's super healthy and my kids are really enjoying it. So I'm just gonna throw those together this morning and then go about the rest of my day.
For this coconut loaf, I'm going to mill some hard white wheat flour, and I'm also going to add in some einkorn flour that I'll mill as well. I've been enjoying using einkorn wheat berries and grinding those up for muffins and pancakes and things like that. For this recipe, I first have to toast 2 cups of coconut flakes in the oven. These are unsweetened coconut flakes. And while the oven's preheating, I'm just gathering all of my supplies and getting organized. I'm also refilling my sugar jar. I'm putting my coconut oil over near the oven so it can continue to melt.
So while my oven is preheating, I'm just getting together some of the ingredients for the breakfast cookies, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm putting in that, but I just got a little bit of this flour and some flaxseed meal. I've got my walnuts measured out, and now I'm gonna get the wet ingredients measured out, and then when I go to make that, that should be super easy. So anytime you have time in the kitchen where something is happening and you're waiting, you can do something else. So that's how I usually can get a lot done in a short amount of time. I just kind of organize my thoughts, organize my steps, and get a lot done, get the kitchen messy once, and then clean it up and go do something else. When me and my girls bake, we call this our messy plate. Anytime we have a utensil or something we need to put down, but we're probably gonna need to use it again, I just set it all down on this one plate. That way I don't messy up my kitchen counters too much. So I'm gonna do the almond butter.
I'm really excited about these breakfast cookies because they are very nutrient dense. There's only a little bit of flour in it, there's oats, and then the rest of it are high protein and nutrient dense foods like walnuts and almond butter and flax seeds and things like that. Yes, there is some sugar, but not a ton. And my kids are eating these up and it's keeping their bellies full and satisfied. And so I'm calling it a win, and I think they're really yummy too. I've been enjoying them as well. So all I'm doing right now is pre-measuring all of my ingredients so that when I go to make it, it will be fast and easy.
All right, well, it's starting to get warm in this kitchen, so the hair is going up. I really like these clips. I will link them below. They're from Target. They're the only clips I've ever found that actually work and hold my hair in. Okay, we're gonna do this coconut loaf now.
Into a mixing bowl, you're gonna add 1.5 cups of toasted unsweetened coconut flakes. I'm adding 3/4 cup of organic cane sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. The recipe then calls for a 1/2 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg. I did dried nutmeg because that's what most people have. And so I took a little bit out because I thought it might be too strong if I did a 1/2 teaspoon. And now I'm adding 1 3/4 cup of flour. Mix the dry ingredients together and then mix together your wet ingredients. Into another bowl, you're gonna add 2 eggs, a can of coconut milk, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Whisk that up really well, and then you're gonna add that to your dry ingredients. And I almost forgot my coconut oil that was melting over near the stove. You're gonna add 1/4 cup of coconut oil to that as well and mix it to combine. And then you can transfer it to a loaf pan. I'm adding a little bit extra flour just because I thought maybe it needed it. Anytime you're using freshly milled flour, you do have to keep an eye on things and see if the texture and consistency is the way that you want it, since freshly milled flour absorbs water differently than all-purpose flour.
Well, I just realized when I was making the coconut loaf that I made a mistake and I was not supposed to do the whole can of coconut milk. I was supposed to do a cup and then use the last 1/4 cup for the icing on top. So I'm just gonna hope for the best.
Now we are moving on to making the breakfast cookies I told you about. You're gonna start by pulsing 1 cup of walnuts until it turns into this crumbly texture. Now I'm adding 1.5 cups of old-fashioned rolled oats and giving them a quick pulse in the food processor. And then I'm adding in 1/3 cup of freshly milled flour, 1/2 cup of flax meal, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So that's your dry mixture. And now we're going to mix together your wet mixture. All right, so in this bowl, I have 1/2 cup of almond butter, 1/4 cup of avocado oil, 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Mix that up until it's combined and then add in 1 egg and pulse it some more until it's just combined and sort of silky looking. Now into a mixing bowl, you're gonna add 1/2 cup of chocolate chips and 1/2 cup of dried craisins and then start adding in the liquid mixture. This is going to be a thick and dense dough, so it's not gonna be super easy to mix, but I add a little tiny bit of water as needed, and I also added a tablespoon of coconut oil just to help bring everything together nicely.
So first make it into a ball like this, like a ball, and then go like that. Yeah, and then go like this. Just kind of press it. Yeah, and then put it down. Yep. Can you get the chocolate chip you dropped? And then press it. Yep, and now put it down. And perfect! Look at that. He needs to ride bikes first. Right when this is
Do
done.
our bites first.
Right when this is done cooking, we're gonna go outside, okay, Noah?
So these cookies will not spread out, so you can put them pretty close together. I like to do pretty large cookies and then press them down and bake them at 375 for about 11 minutes. I'm putting the rest of that freshly milled flour into a container for later and checking on my baked goods, giving the kitchen a good sweep. It's amazing how quick all these crumbs appear. And then I took the cookies out and I'm pressing them down because I like them to be a little more dense and doughy, and they turn out so good. So the coconut loaf turned out, it wasn't too wet, there was nothing wrong with it, so I'm glad to say that my mistake didn't ruin it. It just goes to show you how much flexibility you really do have when you're cooking food. You really don't need to worry too much. Just do what feels right, have fun, and enjoy yourself. So these are the cookies. I think they're really good. You should definitely try them. If I can get around to it, I'm gonna try to post this on my blog. And if I did get around to it, you will see a link in the description for that. Otherwise, I'll get to it on another date and you'll see it at some point. I do try to keep my blog updated, but right now I'm kind of just trying to keep up with creating these videos and my other job. And when I have time, I post on my blog. So I added a little bit of icing. I did about a half cup of powdered sugar and some cream until it turned into an icing consistency. And then I sprinkled the rest of the toasted coconut flakes on top, and it turned out really delicious. I really enjoy this with a cup of coffee in the afternoon. So now it's later in the day and I was planning on not doing much for dinner, but my husband wanted pizza really badly. And I got this idea because I had already cleaned the smoker out. I have been wanting to make pizza on the smoker for such a long time, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So today is the day. I made a simple pizza dough. This recipe is from Half Baked Harvest.
Oh, I know what to do.
What?
Play army set.
In a minute. So I'm just thinking what I need to do. My smoker is heating up, and then my husband just went to go get some cheese from the store. And so I'm just trying to time it right. If I shape my pizza doughs now, it might be too early. So I'm just gonna wait a minute. Guess we can go play.
Yeah!
Okay, go do that.
Yeah.
Let's go.
For the pizza dough, I followed a basic recipe, but I did mill some kamut flour. So I did a combination of all-purpose flour and kamut, and the dough ended up being pretty dense. I think I did too much flour actually. So the first pizza didn't look super great and also was sticking to the tray a little bit because I didn't add enough semolina flour on the bottom. But it still tasted great. I'm still looking for the right kind of cheese to make a delicious pizza. I just don't think the shredded mozzarella from the bag is any good. And when you go through this much effort, those boys, to make pizza, I think it should taste really good. So as the first pizza is in the smoker at 500 degrees on a hot pizza stone, I'm working on the next dough. I did a better job on this one, on pressing it out nicely and stretching out the dough. Fun fact, I used to work at a Papa John's when I was a teenager.
Plastic thing on the top of the paint still. So I twisted it and I accidentally squeezed it and it all went in my mouth and it was disgusting. crust is juicy.
Doesn't that look good?
Right.
I want this piece. I want
Everyone
this
go to
piece.
the table.
Can I have this part? Can I have this?
No, stop it. Put the thing back.
How would hot? Oh, you fill it up.
Thanks so much for hanging out in my kitchen with me as we start our summer break. If you like this sort of content, I will have more food and homemaking content very soon. So please like and subscribe. It means so much to me, and I will see you next week.